Movie theaters are trying to rebound from COVID shutdowns when Americans got used to streaming at home. Now, new blockbusters, as well as classic hits, are once again slated for the big screen. Joining me now, Imax CEO Richard Gelfond. Rich, it is great to see you again, especially in the flesh. I'm so glad you're here.
It's the first time I've been in a studio since the pandemic, so it's really amazing to be back.
Well, that's a good transition to your business, the movie business. IMAX is all about blockbusters. And when we spoke virtually last time, you predicted that Top Gun would exceed even high expectations. You proved right. There's some momentum now, and IMAX is doing better than your other non-IMAX theaters. But you've got what Wakanda, so the remake of the Black Panther sequel coming up. You've got the Avatar sequel coming up. Is that enough to keep the momentum going?
Well, IMAX is not an exhibitor. We're a different business model. We license our technology to exhibitors all over the world. We're in 89 countries. And for the first half of the year, where everyone's reported, IMAX was at 95% of the box office of 2019, which is a record year. Exhibitors were at 65%. So we've really mostly come out of it. But you're right, it's really blockbusters that drives us. And I think the fourth quarter blockbusters look really good. You never know till people buy the tickets. But I'm feeling that we're through the other side of this thing.
Okay, let's pivot to a recent purchase, a small purchase, but really interesting. IMAX bought a company that has a technology that improves the quality of the streaming experience. Can you explain why you did that? What's the strategy?
Yeah, so IMAX is all about being the best. Really, our key feature is we do things for filmmakers and are part of the ecosystem, and that's where a lot of the power of the IMAX brand comes from. So what this company has done, and it's done well doing it, and it has clients already like Disney and Paramount and Comcast. And
remind me the name of the company?
SSIMWAVE.
Okay, now that purchase was Thursday, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thursday, yeah.
It was announced, close of business on Thursday. And what it does is figure out how to optimize the image in any particular device. So if you had a phone and you're watching us, that doesn't have to be high resolution to look really good. But if you're watching a Chris Nolan movie on a 100-inch TV, you really want that to look great. So what this technology does using AI is it figures out what device you're on, what looking good means for that device, and how to assemble the compression and the transmission to make it look good. So it saves money for the streamers, but most importantly for the directors, it really helps make sure the consumer gets the best vision.
So speaking of streaming, though, of course, it's obviously been challenging to your business, and COVID made it much worse. I want to ask you about the movie industry more broadly. Cineworld filed for bankruptcy. That's the owner of Regal Cinemas. So can you give us a prediction for the movie industry coming out of COVID? And will whatever the new normal looks like, will that be the same as the old normal?
So I don't think it'll be the same as the old normal. I think there's going to be less screens. I think there's a lot of the mid-level content will go to streaming instead of to theatrical. And I think theaters will increasingly have to be premium to attract audiences. So I gave you the statistics about how IMAX is doing really well. That's because we provide an experience you can't get in the home. In fact, these changes in the industry are like wind at our back. They give us momentum. Our market share has gone up considerably, not only in the US, but around the world. Because when people, they're so used to being on their couches, and they're so used to watching episodic TV in a streaming format. When they want a special event, they want to go see something they couldn't otherwise get. And IMAX fills that bill. And we were talking earlier about Top Gun, which was shot with IMAX cameras. And when you watch that movie, it's totally different in IMAX. In regular cinema, the wings are cut off, the heads are cut off. In this, it's not only seeing the whole thing, it's feeling like you're in that fighter jet with Tom Cruise. And I think the public gets that more. They've had enough streaming. They want to get off their couches and do something special.
Gotcha. All right. So another thing I need to ask about is China, because you have a very big business there. In rough numbers, you've got about 800 screens there out of 1,700 worldwide. And recently, I doubt many Americans have heard of the movie Moon Man, but for the first 2 weeks of August.
That's my favorite movie this year.
I think it was worldwide the highest grossing film for the first couple of weeks of August. That said, look, you've got a much stricter COVID lockdown there than here, and China is in many ways not a great place to do business. How does the future of your business look in that country?
We're in a period of time right now where there are rolling lockdowns. It's not going to last forever. So over the last couple months, it's been challenged. And also, there haven't been a lot of movies released. The election, as you know, is in mid-October.
President Xi.
President Xi. And I think once we get through the election period, the number of movies released is going to go up. The number of movies imported is going to go up. We believe that they're going to loosen the restrictions on foreign films and maybe even the restrictions on COVID.
Before I let you go, one more question, which is Wall Street. Is Wall Street missing something about IMAX? Obviously, COVID's been tough, but even over the past 5 years, your stock's down about 38%. What is the Street missing?
The Street is missing the fact that we're not a North American exhibitor. We're not in North America. Only 1/3 of our revenues come from North America. We're not an exhibitor. We have no net debt. We have $500 million in liquidity. We're a technology licensing company. We don't own the bricks and mortar. We license our technology to exhibitors around the world. And now, and increasingly, I mentioned live also, we're going into other technology adjacent fields. So I think that's the big point. They look at us and they say, oh my God, they have leases, they have landlords, they have debt. No, no, no. We're a great technology company.
And someday perhaps you'll be priced like one.
I hope so.
Rich, thanks very much for coming on the show.
Okay, thank you, Jack.